All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Motus Prodcast. We had to have a little delay because someone here got the sniffles.
Sorry, I had a very pathetic cold.
He was like, I can't come over because I can't focus on the road. There's so much snot.
My eyes were tearing up. It was a combination of hay fever and having a terrible cold.
And I did actually, I posed the question to Instagram and was like, shall I do a solo episode with Darwin? Only one person said yes.
Really?
So I think we've got a solid alliance there.
I thought Darwin was more interesting than me.
Yeah, no, people weren't keen on it, okay. So I'm kind of glad.
Yeah.
But anyway, as we would have mentioned on the social media, we are joined, sitting quietly in another country, by our first, in fact...
Two.
Yeah, we got our first female guest, but technically there's two of you. And this is Emily Ibarra, i.e. EDI Photo I from... I mean, are you from Team Farang?
No.
No, you're an independent person, right?
I work for them, so...
You work for them?
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like you're...
Sorry, I'm talking over you. It doesn't qualify me really as part of the team, would it?
I don't know. Like, I view you as an integral part now.
But wait, what are you doing for Tempest?
For Farang.
Oh, we said Tempest.
No, I said Team Farang.
You said Tempest.
I said Team Farang.
That's why I was like, what the hell? Oh, okay. So you're not part of Team Farang?
Well,
She's not on the
an
roster
athlete.
as an athlete, but
I don't do parkour. So
but
I've seen you do parkour.
But as one of the main roles, I feel like you definitely come under the team.
I feel like you're an integral part of. I think you're secretly more of an integral part than Anan would like to admit. I reckon you keep the ship running.
I've gotten off the phone with some people and you're like Team Farang's therapist, and I'm like, I kind of am.
Yeah, and I've seen Snapchats or Instagram stories of you like at Anand's place in Bangkok, and you're covering the walls in like post-it notes and plan it. And I bet you're like a cool. Oh, that's our spring summer 2020 collection planned out, sorted that. Jason, get to work on that. Like,
I try my best.
Yeah.
The post-it notes are the secret, though. I think that is what post-it notes are what keeping Team Farang together right now, not me.
You just stick them to Jason's forehead, like, actually get dressed today.
No, I do social media for Team Farang, and I call myself the unofficial athlete manager because I am kind of organizing it, and I feel like if anyone else tried to get a hold of, say, Pasha, they just couldn't do it. But Pasha is so indebted to me for all the things that we've gone through and I've done for him. He has to say yes or he has to answer. So
he can't ignore your phone calls. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm like one of the few people who can get a hold of Zen or, these guys. So I think that is my true key. And I do social media management. So I post on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, and I don't do that job that well recently. So I feel like I probably would be fired if I wasn't sleeping with my boss. I mean, essentially,
you have got you've got a child growing inside you. So I feel like you've got a bit of of slack there.
Yeah. I didn't realize you did that much for Farang.
Yeah.
I knew you did a lot of photography and things, but
Emily is the hustle queen.
Yeah.
And she does other work for other companies as well.
Really?
So, yeah.
What?
Well, I was working for Tastemade for quite a while and just kind of stopped, which is just traveling around and shooting videos for their social media as well, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, all that stuff. So,
Oh, sick.
I mean, in the parkour world, I started off shooting for the WFPF.
Oh, wait, hold up, because Keelan doesn't know any of your background.
I know.
Yeah, I don't.
Most people don't.
I wanna. Well, yeah. So this is the thing. We'll move away from Team Farang because I wanna. If we want to talk about Team Farang, we could just talk with one of the athletes or whatever. Like you are a unique person with a very interesting past and mentality and everything. So I want to focus this podcast around you. So yeah, I mean, just for a bit of background, I mean, yeah, I guess to the listeners, most people are going to be aware of you, but let's take it all the way back to the start, even pre your intro to parkour. Like, what was your what were you doing? You were working as a photographer, right? Like, let's take it back kind of 10 years and like go from there almost and move forward.
Oh my gosh, I've actually started in parkour in 2008, like at the tail end of 2008. So.
Okay, let's take it back like 12, 15 years then. Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm turning 36 next month, so I have some like more mileage on most of you guys. So,
Yeah.
I mean, even before I loved photography, that was my hobby that I was doing, you know, in junior high and high school for fun. I took darkroom and photographics and digital photography. And at 17, went into college, and my mom was like, "Oh, you like photography and you like writing, do photojournalism." And, you know, 17, you really don't know what you want to do. I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds cool. So I went into university for that. Unfortunately, that was like 2001. So that was like the turn of the digital age. So it really sucked because it was like fine art and just no one, we had a digital photography class, but the teachers didn't even know, you know, what was going on. It wasn't the best time for it. So I actually ended up dropping out because I was assisting all these commercial photographers and they were all doing digital, and I was learning more and getting paid and getting to travel with them. And that is when I really fell in love with like commercial photography, like working with a team. I remember, also kind of ties in is like I did gymnastics from the time I was 3 till I was 15, and then I hurt my back, and then I went into competitive springboard diving. So I did that.
Just to interject once, right? We're on the Off the Edge tour, which I do want to talk more about at some stage. We're in Austin, Texas, and there's this like diving board in the middle of this like natural kind of lake thing. Emily, just without telling anyone that she's just a fucking like sick diver, I can't remember what you did. You just did something fucking amazing off the diving board, and everyone was like, "What the fuck? Like, where's that come from?" But yeah, carry on.
Yeah,
crazy.
No, so movement has played a part in my life, youth, you know, everything. Fuck, I lost my train of thought. Where was I? Oh, okay, I know. I was at diving practice, and there was an underwater shoot for like with this group of people. Like there were models, stylists, you know, assistants, you know, just the whole crew. And I was just like, this is awesome. Like I'm staying here. And I think that was the first, like, I want to be part of something, of like a group creating these images or creating this content. So I was very lucky to know that at a very young age. And then I just started shooting everyone and my friends who were mainly musicians or were in bands, and, you know, they were touring and traveling, and it just kind of grew from there. So
yeah, because I was going to say, you've done a lot of like crazy crossing America tours with bands and loads of stuff like that before you even kind of got into parkour, right?
Totally. So it's not much different.
Yeah, you'd kind of got used to that, living on the road, like shooting as you go and things. Yeah. I
love to name drop. Like I did 3 tours with Portugal the Man, who, you know, 2 years ago just won a Grammy, and it was amazing. Like that was some of the best times of my life, you know. But yeah, you know, it's funny because it's like, you know, at 25, I'm in a van with 5 dudes just traveling around the U.S. And then, you know, 5 years later, I'm in a van traveling with 5 dudes around the U.S.
Yeah. What? You're like, one day I'll settle down. Yeah. And then so, I mean, I remember you telling me this crazy story about how you were living outside of LA, right? But you wanted to like work in LA or something. So you got a gym membership or something like that to shower? Yeah.
So I grew up in Northern California, in the San Jose Bay Area. That's where I grew up, went to college, and then I moved to San Francisco for 2 years. And it was awesome, but it was just kind of smaller. I wanted to branch out. So I wanted to go to LA, but I really couldn't afford to like move there. So what I did is I bought a really expensive gym membership, and I would basically just drive to LA, and then I would basically shower at like Melrose was someone in West Hollywood with very fancy gym, and I was like trying to meet people and network, and then I would go crash at a friend's house or someone's couch. So yeah. Champagne taste on beer budgets. Yeah.
But that's the thing is, I remember you telling me that like way early on to knowing you, and I was just like, fucking hell, like the hustle that you've kind of had like consistently all the way through is very inspiring, to say the least.
Thank you.
And then no worries. And then how did you find this fucking weird sport of parkour that has then changed the last decade of your life quite dramatically?
Heroin was actually what did it.
Yeah, wait, hold up, because
What?
I feel like you never released that thing. I remember Emily was sending me this article. No, she sent me like an article that she was writing, and it started off with like, I mean, I don't know if I should say what it started off with.
No, I'll share it. We were actually just talking about it. So yeah,
Oh, really?
I was actually supposed to be on tour with a band in Portland, and this is the end of 2008. And it was the weekend that my boyfriend decided that he wanted to detox off of heroin and drugs and alcohol. In his defense, he didn't shoot it up. He smoked it, and he never did it in front of me or with me. But yeah, he was just done with these drugs. So, he was, detoxing off of all of these substances. And I joined him, or like helped him, made sure he was still alive. And by the third day, I was like, I really need to find some work because I just bailed on my job that I had. So I'm freelance. I'm, doing photography and I'm doing some video and, not making much money and trying to move to LA. And I went to Craigslist and I answered this ad, and it was actually just about volunteering for a TV show about extreme sports. And I was like, I grew up watching like wakeboarding and skateboarding and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, I've always loved extreme sports. I really want to break into LA. I don't know anyone. I'm actually a photographer, and it was the WFPF. I was the first person to respond to that Craigslist ad, and David immediately put me on of shooting some of the athletes that were coming into town that they were talking to, and we were talking like Marcus Gustafsson and Philip and Brian Rusko
Tim
and
Chief and Oleg and everything like that.
Yeah. So it was the first I had heard of parkour, but I literally got thrown into getting to meet all these talented athletes from all around the world who were coming to LA.
Yeah.
So that was my introduction, and then in 2009 they actually shot the pilot, and I was there for the whole time with the pilot. So yeah, I got to know Daniel Ibaka and Arroyo, Tim Sheaf and Pip, and all these these guys, and
that's crazy.
That was my introduction.
Yeah,
that was before I even knew anything about parkour. I would have been 9 years old. Little 9-year-old Keelan. That's crazy.
Is Craigslist actually like something that businesses use for that kind of thing? Like I'd always thought Craigslist was just for like selling sofas and shit.
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird one. I have another story. That's how we also, I don't know if I told you, Giles, but we like did a tour with 2 musicians, and I documented them hitchhiking from LA to New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we never successfully hitchhiked, to be honest, but we use Craigslist quite often. It's such a cool platform. I mean, I don't know what it's like now, but I mean, that's how I made it through LA and just some jobs. And yeah, there's sketchy stuff on there, but you can find
I always thought it was the one where like, you're like, oh, I'm going to sell a TV on Craigslist, and next thing you know, you've had your fucking kidney stolen
right?
or something. Like,
I don't even know what it looks like. Craigslist sounds dodgy. I don't even know why it's called Craigslist.
I've heard the
it was
best
started by a guy
one.
called Craig, right?
Just Craigslist.
Probably Craig. Thanks, Craig. The best one I think I've heard is there was this bank robbery somewhere. I heard this through someone, so if I'm totally wrong, I don't care. But they basically said, oh, there's a construction job, show up in jeans, a white t-shirt, and one of those masks. And so basically they said they were hiring all these people, and so all these people answered because they wanted to work. They show up at the corner and they robbed a bank in that exact description.
Wow, so there's like shitloads of people. Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh my god.
Script for a film.
Yeah. So.
Awesome. And then so what happened from there? Were you then just in parkour and around LA? And I remember you doing work for Tempest and things like this. But
yeah. So through the MTV pilot at that time, Tempest actually was, working closely with the WFPF for a little while, at least when the pilot was going on. So at the pilot, I met them. And as well as William Spencer and Travis Wong were actually the judges, but then they were never actually like shown in the pilot. But everyone, afterwards, like everyone left. You had all these international athletes in LA, and then everyone left, and then William was still there, and it was like, oh, sweet, like. He did skateboarding and stunts and kind of was known as this like parkour skateboarder, which, didn't want to really identify with, but we did. So yeah, we started hanging out and shooting and dating and for like 2 years, and that kind of brought me into this whole other side where, he got really close to Daniel Abaca. He was living with Gabe Nunez. So through that, I kind of went to this other route, and as well as in 2010, Substance Over Hype started, and I actually was one of the... I didn't found like that was totally like Daniel Cabrillo's, Malachi's brainchild, and William was a huge part of that. And that was
like a creative team, right?
Right. But I actually owned part of that for a while and started that.
Oh, okay.
Like, I helped start that. Like, I definitely can't take credit for like the beginning, but it was this just really awesome way to like get together with a bunch of people and create content and videos. Like, exactly what I'm doing now is what we were doing then. It's like, it's so crazy to me. I didn't have the kind of knowledge and the understanding in 2010 that I do now, but it's the same, like I have to hand it to, Malachi, because it's just like, we were walking into all these MCNs and to, trying to get funding for these YouTube videos and putting out content once a week. And it's like, dude, it's the same thing, that has to happen now. He was just so ahead of his time in that way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, you made some crazy stuff. Keelan just said Tim did some stuff with,
Is this about that house? Do you know that the house with the...
No, the house was when they lived in that house and they were shooting MTV and they shot a lot of extra content there.
Yeah, like, that was because I was young when I saw that, and they did like that Oodles of Noodles stuff.
Yeah, that was all like just fuck around stuff. When Substance Over Hype was like Will Spencer, Danny, Malachi, Tim, and a load of other people. And they Tim did some of them, right?
Mm.
Yeah, this is like Riding
really
with the Ghost.
Creative. Yeah, like Ghost Riding, where Tim like windmills in the car.
Oh, yeah, I remember seeing that.
And they did like one in a garage, didn't they? Where it's like people dancing and like people skating off of cars and stuff. And then did some really, really cool projects.
Yeah, we did a lot. Like, that was really cool where, Malachi would be like, get everyone together. Like, it's so funny. I'm doing the same thing now that I was doing before. Like, that was actually Tim's idea. Like, it was my job to talk to Tim and be like, hey, Tim, you want to come to LA? What do you want to shoot? Blah, blah. And that was actually, the ghostwriting one was his idea.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so, it was like getting everyone together and get everyone aboard and, getting everyone fed and making sure, like, okay, guys, let's get up and let's go shoot something. So,
yeah.
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of great fun. I learned a lot.
And then you kind of got in around the Tempest guys, and I remember you kind of helping shoot content for them. And I remember, the first time I ever met you, we went to that mall and you were shooting lookbook stuff for them, right?
Oh yeah, that was so that was 2014. That's actually right when I met Jason as well. So I kind of veered off a little bit, and I still was in like, parkour and free running and still with these athletes, but it wasn't. It was kind of like a mix of a lot of other things as well. And then I kind of circled back with Tempest around 2014, and I shot their opening of their Tempest South Bay, their second gym. And that's actually where I met Jason and Pasha. They were there shooting Pasha the Boss.
Yeah, I remember that. And then it was the takeover.
Yep, that was the takeover. And then that simultaneously kind of got brought back into Tempest. And I had always like kept good in touch with Chad, Banano, from Tempest, and Gabe and Rich. Like, they just were, the whole time they were just such, special people in LA, such a awesome rad people and doing cool stuff and going to the gym and hanging out and stuff. But And that's when I met Corey and Jesse in 2014.
Yep.
And we went to NAPC, met up again with Frosty and all them, and I shot a video for them and some photos. And then, it was just kind of twisted together, because then they asked me to go on the Going Off the Edge, and then that's when I met you. Right?
And that's where life got, that's what it highlight of your life right there.
Oh, wait, so was that
yeah.
before the Farang thing, like you were all together as Farang?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't realise it went that far back.
Farang
Yeah.
kind of stole me from Tempest, actually.
Yeah, only got robbed. They saw the potential. They were like, we need help. Just to sort of interject, so we don't do too much of like simple sort of storytelling, although your past and everything is obviously fascinating to listen to. I think just for listeners, especially younger people who are maybe not quite so certain of like where their life is going and what they want to be doing or things like this, I think Emily is the prime example of like she found her passion, so to speak, which was obviously kind of content and photography and networking. But have you ever really had a set goal of like where you want to be, like a point, a kind of I want to get to here? Because it seems like you've just always, no matter what am I trying to say? You've just always found good people to be around and found work and found like travel and you've managed to find a life that has fulfilled your passions whilst kind of also just constantly moving. Like it's a very unconventional path almost.
It is. There's so much to say about that. And I really think it depends on your personality, to be honest, because what worked for me might not work for you. There's actually a really great book, or you can also look up in podcast. Her name is Gretchen Rubens, and she did one with Tim Ferriss, and her book is called 4 Tendencies, and there's basically 4 different types of personalities. And so I can quickly go through them. Either you're a holder and you do what you want to do as well as what other people expect of you. There's an obliger who you have a hard time doing what you want to do, but you can do stuff for other people. There's a questioner who will do stuff only if it makes sense to them. And then there's the rebel, which is me, who will not do personal or external expectations.
I'm a fucking rebel. Yeah.
But the one thing that a couple things that kind of get rebels is, one is they'll do it for love, which I think is also why relationships have played such a big part in my life. And 2 is if they have an identity. And so I think just for some reason at 17, I just got obsessed where I wanted to be a photographer. And that's what I wanted to do. And I was like calling LA and I was calling all these photographers, and I was just like, that's what I wanted.
And you wanted the photography thing kind of as your identity,
as
almost.
my identity.
Like, I am a photographer.
Yes. That's what drove me and just made me do crazy shit, like drive to San Francisco, do a shoot, drive back down to LA, and shoot again. And which I would like, this makes no sense. Like no one.
But you're like, but it means that I'm a photographer. Like,
exactly, and that's what kept me going. So yeah, it is. It is finding like that obsession and finding that thing. And I have had goals like in the very beginning, like I wanted to be a commercial photographer and shoot for Coca-Cola and do these massive, like big, huge ad campaigns. And then I kind of realized like that would not make me happy, but that motivation kind of kept me going.
And is that, I mean, for you, I mean, it seems like a dumb question almost, but are you very driven by just like, if it's not going to make you happy, just you're not even going to sort of consider it? Like you're always chasing just like the sort of maintaining happiness within your life. And if suddenly you decided, actually, I don't want to, parkour's not making me happy, like, would you follow whatever the new thing is that makes you happy?
100%. I'm incredibly self-serving. I'm a photographer. It's all about instant gratification,
I'm a photographer.
A rebel photographer.
Yeah. But I think there's no bad thing about that really. So it is very inspiring just to sort of see your path.
It's what works for you, and I think you have to have an obsession in order to do anything. And it's funny. I have an 18-year-old brother, and I was also talking to another like 19-year-old's girl who's like, oh, I'm interested in photography and does stuff, and they're like, is it hard? And it's like, yes, it's fucking hard.
Yeah,
of course
yeah.
it's hard. It's all hard. Like anything you want to do.
Life's not fucking interesting
No.
unless it's hard. Like you're not pushing yourself. So.
What are you looking for? Something that's easy. It's not easy, So
Yeah.
I think for people coming up, they have this expectation like, oh, it's easy, anyone can do it, and it's like, no, it's not. but then what does it matter? Do you want to do it or do you not want to do it?
Yeah. So let's take it back to OTE. So you walked into the gym one day, and I was there glowing in the sunlight cast down from a skylight, and you were like, this guy is just everything I've ever looked for in the world.
These tattoos and
then
these
you called me Giles. I still have the
Giles,
clip.
how can you even make that mistake?
There's a clip, right? And it's like day one of me properly meeting Emily, and we're going to this mall, and she's like, we're like organising who's going in cars, and she's like, okay, Giles goes in that one. And I think Brie or someone goes like, Giles, and Emily's like, God fucking damn it. Like, and I thought like a good couple of days I was referred to as Giles.
Yes.
But
I think that was my biggest struggle in the beginning, was getting your name right.
Yeah. But then, so I mean, we obviously met. I was asked to come on the Off the Edge tour, both the European one and the American one, but the European one was first with Corey and Jesse and Emily and Pasha and half of Farang and everything. And we spent some time in LA first, right? Getting a bit prepped, and then we flew over to Santorini and we did the whole European one. Yeah. And I think we basically just created this bond that I think was because we were both the creatives who were kind of employed. Like Corey and Jesse had so much stress on that tour. There was so much to organise, there was so much going on, and we kind of were always like just slightly on the outside of that. We were just going with the flow, and our job was to capture what was going on, and we just bonded over that. And I mean, we've said it personally between us that we've essentially created one of those friendships where we can not talk in half a year or a year, but I think I don't know, you find people like this in your life that you don't have to see all the time, you don't have to speak to, but you just have this certain like connection with. And yeah, and I'm always incredibly kind of grateful of any time that we get to spend together, whether it's on the phone or in person or whatever.
Absolutely.
I feel like you both had very similar lives.
Yeah, I think we've both led similar lives in a way, kind of unconventional paths, and shared a lot of experiences together and things like this. And it's been, yeah, I don't know. I'm very, very grateful of the fact that you are in my life.
Yeah, same.
And those tours were incredible times. Like still, especially the US one is still just one of my favorite things I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, no, same. I love the European one too. I think that was such, it was so
Chaos
exciting.
And buying boxes of wine on trains and missing trains.
I know. You're right.
I didn't realise you both did the European.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were both in a similar position in a way where we weren't the athletes, but were responsible. But, we were kind of having to go with the flow just because we could and figuring it out. And then also, too, I think just being behind the camera, you shared that as well. And then there's just this other realm of connection that just brings us together as well. And I love that. And it's few and far between, but it's so interesting because even though as someone who doesn't do parkour, like I feel like I've found this family in the parkour community where I do have these special, incredibly intense connections with people. But the common denominator is parkour, yet I'm not doing parkour.
Yeah. But I mean, it's we're glued in now. We don't get to leave, so
yeah,
doesn't seem to happen. But I still have fucking horrific flashbacks to that night we spent in Jeremy's gym in the cold, if you remember that. That was Jeremy from Belgium. We slept in his gym one night, and he dropped us off there and then drove back to his house, and the only thing in there was like a couple of yoga mats that we weaved together to try. I think Pasha had a sleeping bag. No, I think Pasha, because we'd been staying at like people's houses and things, so none of us had sleeping bags, and we all slept like literally touching each other, woven into yoga mats, and it was the coldest fucking night.
Belgium isn't
Oh,
isn't very warm anyway.
then we woke up the next day and it rained like all day and we couldn't get to the jam. And then we got to the jam and the jam was like decent. And then we went out for a beer afterwards. And then do you remember we drove back to the gym and it was locked and we couldn't get in? And then your friend had to come and pick us up and he was like, lived 2 hours away.
Bloody hell.
Yes, yeah. And then he had to drive us back the next morning. Oh,
Yeah. Emily also is you're one of these people, you have friends everywhere. Like I guess because you've just traveled and she makes these connections and you're such a good kind of networker that I remember being in so many random places and you'd be like, oh yeah, my friends are here, like, and it just like random people in, I don't know, you're in the middle of Minnesota or something and you're like, oh yeah, this is my mate that I met on this tour and things, and they come over for a drink or whatever, and you're like, how do you know all these people like around the world?
That's crazy.
You're very, very good at that.
That's really cool.
I'm good at making friends. No, it's something I treasure very much, is just knowing people and network, and it's taken time. But it's so cool. It is really cool. Yeah, our friend in Belgium, Eve, he saved our asses that night.
Yeah, he literally. I remember we got there and we had like warm showers and we were just like sleeping in like under warm beds and we were like, oh my god.
What happened to Jeremy? Why didn't he come and
he had
save
work,
you?
I think, and I don't know, like, yeah.
Is Jeremy a good guy, or is
Jeremy's a great guy. He's just not the most reliable person I've ever met. So,
oh no.
But
Jeremy.
no, that was a very, very fun time.
Yeah, how cool to have friends, and I think this is very predominant in the parkour world, is like that will just be like, hey, can I come over with my like 6 friends and I'll just crash at your house?
I mean, it is, yeah. It's the fact that I know that if somebody like threw me into some random part of Europe right now and I just had my phone, I could probably just jump on Instagram and have a room for the night with some like really sick people that I'd maybe never met before. But it's like, it's such a good thing. Like you see people just popping out to Asia and traveling around Asia and just staying with like communities out there, and it's so cool.
It is
like, other
so
sports
cool.
must have that, but
they don't.
Parkour, I think, is closely got it, you know.
Yeah.
The hospitality that this community has is just so cool. So it's kind of like we were talking about, like that connection. This is a different type of connection. Like it's just understanding.
Yeah.
And I've seen it in the music world as well, but that's a little bit different because it's like this might be a band that someone looks up to. Like I've been given incredible generosity, and how I've met a lot of friends is by like traveling through with bands and stuff and needing a place to crash and stay. But this is not always just because you're in the band. This is just because you share this common love for this movement.
Yeah, totally. And I think I've just lost my train of thought, but it is, I mean, did you make just going back to your kind of ability to make connections and things, do you make a conscious effort at that, or do you just find it happens naturally to you? Because I think some people, obviously, everyone ranges on their kind of spectrum of how comfortable they are with strangers and maintaining connections and stuff like this. Like, I feel like I can have really good conversations with people, but sometimes maybe I'm not so good at like maintaining that, and then somebody who maybe could be an asset later on in life in terms of like you meet someone and they're incredible at marketing or social media or something, and now like with the brand I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be good to sort of have someone like that around, like and maybe I met someone like that 2 years ago but kind of maybe not kept up that relationship, whereas you seem to be very good at just maintaining that kind of connection with a lot of people.
I think it can be pretty awful at maintaining it. I think it's kind of one of those things, like, every now, like, you'll be doing something and someone will just pop into your mind.
Yeah.
You try to kind of, like, make an effort to be like, oh, hey, how's it going? How's it going? You just popped into my mind, blah, blah, blah. So I think, that kind of helps. But I think it's also the people who you actually connect with. And I feel like I've always been pretty empathetic or just kind of intuitive of knowing who I'm meeting, and I think if you leave a good impression, if you leave if you're a good guest or a good host or you're whatever that may be, that then those bonds don't necessarily need to be refilled all the time. They kind of are lasting, you know. And there's there's definitely been people who are like, you know, I've had, you know, because I'm constantly shooting and doing all this stuff, and I had to cancel them all the time, and they just couldn't handle it, you know. I wasn't a good match for them in terms of friendship, but you know, then there's my best friends are the ones like you and I who we could be away from each other or not talk for a year and pick up exactly where you left off. So I think it's a combination of choosing the right people who to remain in contact with and just trying to make that little effort. I mean, social media is great for that because, you know, it's not that hard to leave a comment or, you know, respond.
Have a quick catch up and things like that.
Yeah. And I also love to, like, when you haven't seen someone in a while and you're like, okay, I'm going to go meet them. Let's scroll through their feed and see what they've been up to. You know? So
do your homework. Oh, shit, you've got a kid now. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, I mean, where should we go from here? Like, I mean, yeah, so we did Off the Edge, and I remember spending 2 weeks in LA afterwards, and you, me, and Anan just lived in Nina's house and shared a bed. Weirdly enough, and I think that's where we became boyfriend and girlfriend unofficially.
Absolutely.
Which, if anyone ever sees, I've seen on comments there's a photo of you and me in Santorini, and you like put it up, and you were like my boyfriend, and somebody was like, Emily, who is this?
Yeah, I've also asked because I feel like I'm moving my ring, I think, over too. So if someone's asked like, oh, what happened? Or are you still married? Or something like this. It's like, what? And then they'll send me the photo like, oh, that's my boyfriend. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, it got to that point when you travel with, you know, someone. When we traveled together, it was just like we were doing everything together. We would get each other, like whoever woke up first, each other coffee. You know, we were the
non-sexual relationship, weren't we? Because we literally were sharing a bed for space, but then we were doing everything together.
Planning when to go to bed, like everything we did. It was so domestic. So it we were editing together and doing all this different stuff. So it was truly a relationship without the sex. So
yeah, very true. And it became the in joke, which the son sort of stuck around. And occasionally you'll be like, "Hey, boyfriend," and Jason's there.
Did no one question this? Like,
no, because people it was people got it. It was just funny.
That's jokes.
And then so yeah, you got poached by Farang. Kind of, because you were going out with Jason on the second Off the Edge tour. Were you with him on the first tour?
No, so when we met, so I met Jason in 2014, yeah. So to kind of paint the picture for it, he was 22 and I was 30. I was living in LA and he was living in Germany and traveling. So it was just kind of like, oh yeah, here's this awesome, charismatic guy and this is super fun. We're just hanging out in LA shooting and having a great time, but you know, where is this gonna go? You know?
Yeah.
So for like the first 8 months it was just kind of fun, and then I went to Germany and visited him, and I still was getting like, I went to For the Love of Movement, and I was, you know, went to their Red Bull shoot that they had with all Farang guys were in it, and so I got to see more of the community through him. And the rest of Farang, which was really cool. But we didn't really make it official or really take it seriously, I would say, until like the end of 2014, and he had moved to Bangkok to focus on Farang, you know, so at that
just to get even further away from you, basically, like.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had, even for the tour, because the original tour, remember, it was supposed to be like 8 or 9 months?
Oh, it was meant to be, yeah.
It was meant to be consecutive.
I had visas for...
Yeah.
Really? Yeah, it was meant to go on kind of way more, but there was
like,
sort of...
As in the Off the Edge?
Yeah, the first European one.
It was meant to be one big one, so it would have been combined in the middle. Asia and Australia would have been in the middle
Brazil
of that.
Brazil.
That would have been really sick.
Yeah, so
that's a lot of money.
When I went to LA that first time, right, for the start of that tour, because I went out to LA for a couple of weeks before, and they were like, they had all these funding issues, and there was loads of stuff going on in the background. There's so much kind of stress that I was just like just around. Like, I didn't really have to do anything, but I was just kind of like going to these meetings and sitting there and like, wow. And when I went out there, I had visas for like Brazil and all these places, not knowing when I was going to go home. Like, they'd already said like we might have to cancel this like chunk of it. But I was like, fuck, I don't know if I'm going home in a month or if I'm going home in like 6 months or something. Like, it was really, really crazy.
It's kind of exciting though at the same time. That's a cool position to be in. You like kind of don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, it was daunting. Like, that was the longest, at that time, that European tour was the longest trip I'd ever done. And then obviously Off the Edge, the second one and things took over that.
I was just a little kid seeing you doing those tours. So
yeah,
for me,
you came
I was
to the
like,
London screening, didn't you?
Yeah, I was just like, what the fuck? How is Giles doing all this cool shit? Like, I want to do that when I'm older, but yeah, that's mad. It's really cool.
Yeah, I jumped in and I got rid of my apartment. Then I remember finding out right before that, like, oh, this is not gonna happen on the way, and I was like, what?
You've already just ditched your apartment, and now you're going.
I now have nowhere to live.
Yeah, so yeah, that was kind of like. I never know what I'm doing, so it's not.
Yeah, but I mean that's your path.
Living out of a suitcase.
Yeah. I mean, you and Jason lived out of a suitcase for years.
Yeah, I remember watching the vlogs of you and Jason, and it looked really cool. But I don't know how you
traveling around with one bag.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how you managed that. I mean, camera gear takes up like surely a good third or half of stuff.
It's true.
Like traveling.
Yeah, the minimalism lifestyle, like, that's why we wear all black and have, only one pair of shoes and a couple. I mean, now it's changing, obviously, but yeah, that was living at a. I feel like I've always done it in some weird way that's evolved, so it's easier, but
you'd never sort of strike me as, actually, I don't know, I could pitch you in like a nice house with shitloads of stuff, but it's all like sentimental things that you've collected over the years, like a wall that's covered in photos and like loads of ornaments. You're like, oh, I got this in Egypt and I got this here and here and here, like, but that's like you in like 30 years, I reckon.
Yeah, maybe more. We'll see. We'll have to find out. You have to come over.
Yeah.
I mean, from what I've heard from your life, it does sound like you've been doing similar stuff since you were younger, just traveling around loads.
Yeah. And I don't know what it is.
Living your truth, or whatever they would call it.
It's weird. I moved in with my grandmother and my family when I was 7. Like, my grandfather passed away when I was 5, and then she had this big house, like 5-bedroom house in San Jose, and so we all kind of moved in there. And I had my own room and everything, but it was never our family house. It was her house.
Oh, so you kind of almost didn't feel like you could, like, not take it over, but you felt limited on what you could have in there.
Totally, yeah. It was just like, it was like her domain. It wasn't ours. So we had the space and the privacy, but I think for some reason that just stayed with me, where I know other people who are like, no, I want my bed and my toothbrush and this and that, and they need that comfort. I feel like you're a little bit like that, Giles.
Oh, the thing is, I need it, but also I can't. I get itchy. Like, I haven't traveled that much this year, and I'm like, I like to have like my rock at home, like my sort of whatever you call it. Like, I want to know that I have stuff and I can always go back to that.
I definitely relate.
I also can't spend too much in one place, and right now I'm like peak itchiness, and it's kind of killing me a little bit.
This is the least traveling you've done this year for you, and for me actually in
almost a decade.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Like, I've traveled so much over the last 5 years, insane amounts, and then even the few years before that, I was still, because we're doing a lot of video stuff, still traveling a fair amount. And this year I've been on one trip, and I'm just like, oh my god,
same.
Like,
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's stressing me out. But we got some stuff planned. But
good.
Yeah. And so let's bring it. Yeah, so let's bring it to Farang. So you were with Jason. I remember on the tour, because it's brought back flashbacks of certain things happening on that bus while I was on it that won't be mentioned on the podcast. But fucking hell, that tour was the America tour was insane. Actually, thinking about some of the stuff that happened on it.
Yeah, that was.
I feel like we're moving more towards the culture of the sport is shifting slightly. That back then, a lot of the like crazy shit that happened kind of wasn't really documented, and also wouldn't be shown because it was too like kind of, I remember like Corey and Jesse got sponsored by that water company, and there was outrage because it was the kind of all the sexualization of girls on the water company was using and things like this, and now the sport's definitely shifting a bit so that people are not in terms of the sort of sexualization isn't the fucking right word I'm trying to use, but you know what I'm trying to say, not that way, but I feel like more crazy shit's getting put on YouTube and people are like, yeah, cool, this is like, it's that skate culture of like, I mean, people
not giving a fuck.
Yeah, it's young, it's young teenagers and young adults like doing a sport and traveling and fucking around, so it's gonna happen. But
that one always confused me too, because it was like, yeah, but that's not the content Corey and Jesse are showing, and if you want this company to change, wouldn't, like, I understand you don't like what they've shown in the past, but you want them to keep doing that, or do you want to support people who are actually providing other more positive content that isn't being, you know? So it's kind of a, like... I
mean, they were at the stage where they were just taking any sponsor they could get to get the tour moving, and, like, the fact that a company... And there was no branding on the bus, and there was no advertising on their side that had anything to do with this company's normal branding. Literally just said the company
water.
name. Yeah, and it was water. And then there was, like... Wasn't it Corey's manager also knew like an alcohol company, and they got a couple of free bottles in return for a couple of Instagram posts, and people got outraged at that. And now it's like showing, like, it's half the videos are fucking people blazing and drinking half the time anyway. Like it's shifted really quite dramatically.
Yeah, I think people want to get upset about stuff sometimes, but yeah. No, I love the whole world of social media, though. As many negative things that comes with it, I think there's so many more positive things that come with it, and it's really fun for me. And I think, you know, being in LA for 6 years, and, you know, being an American, but then being with, you know, Europeans or other people, like what I've been doing for Pasha is helping him, because, you know, he's just blown up on social media, so.
Yeah.
You know, usually it'll start with some brand will reach out, or agency will reach out to him and be like, hey, we want you to do this shoot and blah, blah, blah for this. And he's like, yeah, cool. And then they send him over this massive contract with all these rules and things. And he's like, Emily, help me. What does this mean? And it's like, yeah, don't sign this. You're going to be fucked, you know?
Signing your life away. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't know, I just kind of wanted to bring this side up too, is just like, be careful out there. And I feel like if you're doing some brand deals or you're doing some shoots, like, I'm always happy to answer, because it is confusing and they will take advantage of you, and they don't mean to sometimes they do. They're just trying to cover their own ass, and I've been learning a lot about it. And of course, like, you know, Jason is so good at these kind of deals and things too, but I've been enjoying like helping, you know, Pasha and stuff, and do these kind of brand deals, and there is a lot of money to be made, and there's a lot of, you know, great jobs, you know, and you can say no to the bad ones. But like, just be aware that, you know, any contract you get handed is up for negotiation, as well as the price.
Well, this is the thing that I've always I've spoken to you about in the past, and I remember distinctly being somewhere in America and you and Jason telling me like, you should up your rate, and it's okay to say no to these jobs, and like, you should you deserve more money than this and thing. And you've always struck me as the type of person who you're very much like, not afraid to say no, and also you're not afraid to like, and also your mentality is like, well, the worst they can say is no. And we spoke about this with Jesse on his one, like,
yeah,
you are worth a certain amount, and you are the only you can decide that factor, and you can tell that to a client, and you can kind of say like, no, like, this is what I'm worth, and if you can't pay that, then I'm not going to do the job, kind of thing.
Totally.
And I think you're very good at that mentality.
And I'm much better at doing it for someone else than myself, but...
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's great.
Everyone is. But no, I think it is an important thing to be talking about the community. I actually had a really good conversation with someone through the Farang channel, because I also answer or don't answer the messages on either Instagram, and we had a really good conversation, because the same thing happened in photography, you know, as far as, you know, the technology and social media is changing so rapidly, and that's what you're really seeing with Pasha, is like, maybe 5 years ago, he'd be hired for a shoot, or like you guys, athletes in general, you'd be hired to do a shoot. So you'd be hired a day rate to go out and do what you do for a commercial job, and that would all be negotiated. But now it's also, not only are you doing that, but you're also doing social media. And those are two different things that it's just, I've talked to lots of people in LA, but like, it's the Wild West. Like, there's no rules yet. And I think I listened to Jesse.
Yeah, because it's developed so quickly.
And it's changing so quickly. And,
we were there, right, in Sweden when Pasha first blew up on Instagram, weren't we?
Oh, you told me about this.
Walking a 20-minute journey between the hotel and Philip's apartment. Pasha checks his phone, like, as you do, just check Instagram as like at the start of the journey, and he was already on, I don't know, 60K or something, right?
No, he was at 12. He was at 12,000.
Was it 12?
Oh,
was it seriously at 12?
And then it passed
oh my
100,000 by the time he
that night.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like,
what clip was it?
So the Instagram page featured him. Like, they made a post about him.
But it's
and
not
Instagram's
like he
the most
uploaded
followed
anything
account. No.
crazy, like, new.
They'd emailed him a few months prior and sent this like questionnaire, and he said he just like rushed it out. He didn't think it was like a proper thing.
Yeah.
And then they just randomly posted it, didn't like give him any warning or whatever. And so we get to this thing, and he like sits down. He's like, guys, my Instagram's like glitching out. He was like, I'm now on like some crazy number. And every time he swiped and refreshed the page, it went up another 1,000.
What the fuck?
And we just sat there, and it was like, another 1,000. Wait, another 1,000.
Oh my god.
That was wild.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
But even imagine then, right? Because he just got like 100K and a bit. I think it was like, I don't know, like 112 by that next morning or something. But even then, that was 3-4 years ago. But if we'd said to him, oh, Pasha, in 3-4 years you will have sort of, what's he on, over 700K now, and you can basically make a living off of just doing quirky shit and being you and putting it on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like 5 years ago, that was just not. It's like, oh, why are you posting silly shit on Instagram? And it's changing so quickly. So it's
quickly.
What is that? What's that content like? And the thing is, Pasha might post a sketchy gainer and it gets however many hundreds of thousands of likes, and then you might post him doing that walking down the wall thing, and it might get millions of likes.
But I don't think.
And he might be wearing a certain T-shirt that maybe someone's. It's like, what's that clip worth?
Yeah.
No one knows. Like, how do you put a price on that?
Well, Dom was saying the same thing. He was telling me that, I think it was with you. He was saying how much he charges for certain like story posts and Instagram posts.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact numbers, but it was way higher than I thought, because you can just set your own. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you set your own marks, and it depends. Like, do you want your Instagram to be full of just like advertisement for things?
Yeah.
So you got to make the price higher.
And and you have to also set standards, and that's what I'm like trying to educate people about too, because it's just like, if you have a following, why should your feed post be any different than your story post? And why should and if you want to put a link in there, then that should be charged too. And if you want, I really like the conversation that you had with Jesse, and I think he made some really great points. And then it's like, to add to that, it's like, okay, well, they better not try to make you exclusive, and they don't own the footage, and they don't own, they can't use it. So there's all these other little things that, we never had to think about before, that now you have to think about.
People will take advantage, won't they?
Like, they will take advantage.
They'll sneak in like, oh, by the way, we're going to buy this off you for $1,000 or whatever, and oh, it's ours now. And you don't realize that when you're signing a thing, and suddenly they're using it everywhere, and you're like, hold the phone, like, what's going on?
And they don't have to tag you or anything,
so
they can really.
And by the way, don't do any shoe sponsored posts for the next year until this ad campaign runs out.
Yeah.
And if,
Yeah.
Like that.
I remember
really
Story with that Canon one. There was something where they weren't meant to be doing other. I don't know if it ever went through, but it was a bit up in the air because they weren't meant to be seen in clips using other cameras that weren't Canon or something like this. It was like an exclusivity thing. They were like, we only
was that
want
kind of like out of nowhere. They didn't know that.
I don't know if it was out of nowhere, but I think it was like they were like, oh, should we commit to this? Because GoPro and stuff like that.
But you don't have to. Like, brands either need to pay for that, which should be a lot of money because you are saying no to other work, or they need to take it out. It's not fair, because it's just, you can't. I understand why they want to do it, and I think there's also, a respectful time. Like, hey, I'm not. If I'm doing a brand deal for you, and I'm posting this for over the next couple weeks, like I'm not gonna do another one for the next month. But you don't need exclusivity from me for a year. You know what I mean? Like there's a compromise in this, but that contract, you better believe, is gonna come out and is going to be like, you can't do anything, and we own everything, and yeah. So
you know what's gonna happen now, Emily, is everyone's gonna turn to you as the you're going to become the kind of agent of
Please
the parkour
do.
community.
I would love that.
I'm going to turn to you.
Your inbox is going to get filled.
I'll be breastfeeding my baby and on the computer on the other hand and just be holding fucking up.
Yeah.
So no.
Oh my god, your life. Sorry, I was going to say your life's crazy because I keep forgetting that you've got a baby very, very soon. It's
Me
all going
too.
to change
Next month.
Yeah. I mean, Jesus.
Next month?
Wow, next month, August.
Oh my gosh, didn't realize it was that soon.
What's your rough date? I'm going to come to the hospital with camera.
August 15th. Yeah.
15th, all right. I'll be
Come
there,
film it,
even though I'm meant to be in America. But yeah.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'll live stream it for you. Just
How are you? What are you doing? What kind of birth are you doing? Oh wait, what was this hypno thing I saw on your Instagram story?
Oh yeah, it's hypno birthing course we're doing. It's like every Sunday for 4 weeks, and it's kind of like breathing, relaxation, meditation type of stuff to get you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been taking birthing classes and doing all this stuff, and we're hoping for a home birth. So yeah, then we can just do it at the house. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that normal or water, or I don't really know all the technicalities and all the options you've got. But
yeah, we do.
I know water's popular.
Yeah, we do. We'll get a pool as well, so that will be cool. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you terrified or are you excited?
I'm excited. I'm I don't know how much you want to get into birthing.
Let's do it. We have we got full transparency on this, so it depends. It's all on you.
No, it's really crazy. So this whole time we've been planning for a home birth, and super excited about it. Like it's super safe. Like it's incredible. We have 2 midwives. I have a doula. So the midwives are like the doctors, essentially. They're, registered nurses. They know how to take care of everything. Like if, there's an emergency, like they'll pretty much prep everything in the ambulance and on before. So like the minute you get to the hospital, you're good to go, So you lose a little bit of time, but not really. And then we have the doula, who's just kind of like this more hippie, like she's German, but she also lived in California for 6 years and does massage therapy. So she's there for me. So we've been planning this, the whole time, even before I got pregnant, and then I failed.
So most girls plan their wedding, but you plan your pregnancy and your birth.
For sure. And then I got hit with this gestational diabetes, where my blood sugar, because of the hormones, or maybe just because I ate a lot of junk food throughout my life, I'm not sure. Which is also could be entirely possible. But my blood sugar is just having trouble maintaining, so I had to take out everything, including like fruit, rice, like everything. So basically I eat meat, vegetables, and nuts and eggs.
And is it a permanent diabetes?
No.
Is that gonna?
Once the pregnancy is done, I can control it with food. I don't need insulin or anything. But once the pregnancy is done, my hormones should go back to normal.
So your baby is just sapping it out of you, basically.
Yeah. So I'm stressed that it's so crazy how concerned these doctors are about home birth. They're so freaked out about it. So I kind of have to get.
Oh really?
Yeah. I'm really
I thought home birth was
surprised.
kind of as normal as hospital birth.
It's so weird because it's so much safer, in a way. I mean, yeah, it is. Obviously, when there's emergency, and that sucks. But yeah, so I'm hoping that doesn't stop me. But we're gonna, that's what we've planned.
Yeah. Can you can you look past the birth? Not in terms of a sort of imagining it, but I mean, I've heard sort of from other people who've when they've been pregnant, they just kind of obviously your entire life is going to change, like flip 180 when this sort of baby comes into your world, and like because suddenly this thing then is there, it's real. Like, is it? Do you sort of feel like you just can't like almost plan? No, I guess you have to plan, but I don't know. It's
surely
like,
work changes and everything.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just such a crazy kind of life changing thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm so kind of. But okay, so here's the thing. I remember you. I feel like there was a stage where you were like, "Oh, I don't think I'll ever want kids."
Yeah, there was.
Yeah. I was gonna say I thought I had that conversation, and I mean, has that just changed because you're just happy and like, yeah, I don't know, like it's.
I
people
think
change, don't they?
Yeah, I think I needed to go to that extreme. I needed to really imagine what it was like to not have, not have children or not do that. And I knew that if I didn't have children, I could still be happy. And I knew that there were enough places to travel to and photos to take and languages to learn and people to meet, that I would live a happy life without children. And I'm all for people who make that decision. I think it's a great decision if that's your decision,
Because you've just always been that person who is just, you've, as we said earlier, you put your happiness sort of before anything almost, and it's
totally. And then
you sort of you follow that.
And like I said, I'm 8 years older than Jason, and when we met, or you got serious, he was just like, well, I want to have kids, but I don't want to have them for another 10 years. And I'm like, well, then you won't be having them with me because my biological clock is going to be out the
ticking,
window. Yeah. And so, that was kind of one of those things. And it was like, well, do I leave, in this relationship just because I might not be able to have kids, or do I risk staying and he wants kids and then I can't have them? And that was like a hard time for me, for a little while. And then it just kind of got to that point where it was just like, you know what? We're ready. It's just like we've done so much together, and
I mean, you've been non-stop for like 3-4 years now.
Yeah.
Like crazy active.
So much cool stuff. So many amazing things. And I think once you've done it as well, you're not afraid of it like stopping. I don't feel like that will end.
Yeah. And I mean, Jesse said something really interesting, because obviously Jesse and Brie have just announced their pregnancy. And obviously he sort of said, like, the baby comes into your life. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like you have to stop dead in your tracks and then cater to this thing. Like, it comes into your life and it will adapt.
100%. Yeah. No, I agree with that too. And I think she's down for the cause. So. Yeah.
I'm incredibly excited to see you two as parents. I would very much like to have my parents be you two.
Yeah, that'd be well cool.
We keep on joking, really cool. Like Jason just needs an excuse to go to the playground and not be looked at weirdly by.
Yeah.
And our kid's gonna be on the phone sitting with the other moms, being like, "Come on, Dad, it's time to go home." Like.
Yeah. I'm bored. Yeah. Amazing. Anyway, let's just talk a little bit of.
Even Farang.
I guess we've. Well, I guess we've already spoken a fair amount about Farang. I was more going to say, I've got here written down the future and then juicy goss.
Juicy goss? What?
Juicy gossip.
Juicy gossip.
Gossip. Oh, I love gossip.
Because you're the inside girl. You're the kind of if you're not part of Team Farang, then you're a spy.
Yeah.
I mean,
always tell me like, okay, don't tell anyone. I'm like, don't tell me then, because I have the biggest mouth.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'm the worst at keeping secrets. Don't ever tell me a secret. I'm awful.
All right. Well, we don't want to hear any proper secrets. But while we've got you, like, how's things going from your viewpoint of Farang and I mean, well, here we go. Do you feel fulfilled work-wise, kind of working with what you're doing at the moment? I remember a period when Jason was vlogging hard, and sometimes I'd kind of be like, oh, is Emily just like Jason's assistant? Like, is that kind of... and I'd almost be like, I feel like you have you can do more than that in a way. But I feel like right now you seem to be really pushing hard with what you're doing, which is really cool to see, and you seem kind of content from what I can see from the outside. So are things good?
Yeah, I think I'm in a transitional stage. I mean, obviously with this,
I mean, a human growing inside you will probably do that to you.
yeah, where I'm kind of like on pause, and I think those are always good to have. Going back to the whole like identity thing, like the part that sucks about, you know, my tendency is that I don't have to work that hard to be a photographer now because I've already been doing it for like 15 years. Which is not good because I should be pushing myself harder. And I think that part will come. And maybe that, you know, kind of what Jesse said too, that'll push, having a child will push your dreams. Like I thought it was a boy for like the first, I don't know how many months before I found out it was a girl. I was just sure it was a boy. And I was like, this is going to be fucking easy. Like I just have to be a cool mom. I have all these male role models around. Like this is rad. Da. And then it was like unfairly so when I found out a girl, I was like, oh shit. Like I have to be the role model. Like I have to like do this. Like, she has to be amazing.
She's going to be looking up to me.
So, you know, and I do believe like, no, I just need to be a cool mom. That's it. But, you know, it does put that pressure on you. So I think that will, you know, that will kind of change. You've seen the book that I've been trying to put out for how many fucking years? I don't know. You know, I have so many stuff. I have so many passion projects. I have so much still I want to accomplish, and I enjoy in creating. So, you know, I don't think it's ever finished. I don't think it's ever, you know, you just have these ups and down moments of, you know, maybe you're doing a lot, maybe you're, you know, like I said, right now is a transitional time. I think that will ramp up again, and I think that's why I chose photography. And it's why people choose parkour. Like you're never done. You never master it. You never finish it. You can be doing this till the last. That's what I love about photography, especially. We have a little bit of longer, you know, physical life. Is like you can die with the camera in your hand. There's you know. So
screaming, I'm a photographer. Oh, my headphones just fell off. I fucked it. As a giraffe like runs over the top of you or something, you're like, I'm a photographer.
Yeah, that's the way to go. Oh, one thing I want to say too. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes.
No, take it.
No, I was just gonna say, keep it in your head. I was just gonna say, I mean, even your athletic career might not go forever as an athlete, but it is you can still, as you have done. I mean, you spent many years doing music photography, and you were obviously in with loads and loads of bands and things, but you can transition. So it's like there's nothing saying as an athlete you can't transition to, and I think we've spoken about this before, like in 5 years time some big name athlete who might be listening to this might be a professional commentator, and like they might have busted knees, but they could be living a really fulfilled life, loving this kind of new path that their life has taken them down. So I think that's where the networking and never like taking your eyes off of not the goal, but like staying on your path and just kind of following where it goes is really exciting.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it
Anyway, sorry, you were going to say something.
No, I one more thing that people might not know that I do is, and it was not my idea, but it kind of became my baby anyways, is we jumped the world. So
oh yeah,
Farang started.
That was your idea?
It wasn't my idea. I think it was Jason and Anand's idea, but
yeah,
it has been like I've taken care of it in terms of, you know, organizing the, you know, reaching out to people for the jams, putting it on the website, downloading the footage. I think that the first year Will Sutton did it all, and then after that it was like, you know, for the budget that we had for it was just too much for him to do everything. So I'm the one corresponding and downloading all the stuff, and it's just so cool to see all these people.
This like global outreach.
Yes.
I've been so bad at it every year, and I think it's because I know you, and therefore like that sounds really bad. It's like I don't respect you because I know you. But I mean, you always like reach out a couple of days before and you're like, oh, are you going to organize something? And I'm like, fuck, like I'm not around anyone. One year I printed out an image of the world and jumped over it and filmed it on my phone.
Really?
Yeah, and sent it to Jason. But yeah, I'm really bad, and I apologize for that.
No, I mean, it's okay. Like, it was fun featuring, some, professional athletes or our friends or close athletes. But I mean, really, it's not what it's about. It's great to include it and it's part of it, but it's
like 300 kids in Indonesia sending in a video or something. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that is crazy.
It's so cool.
It's really cool.
That's what's really about. And I feel like I'm kind of, the month of April is just always fucking shot for me, where I'm just going through a million emails and messages and downloading and all this stuff. But it's like, I kind of feel sometimes like, man, am I the only one who gets to see this? Like, obviously you guys see the finished product and so you do get to see it, but like,
but you get the full impact.
I do, and I feel, and as well as answering messages from Farang, and there was the couple years too where just Jason and I were vlogging and traveling around the world, like changing locations every 2 weeks, and every place we went we had a jam. And there's definitely something there that needs to be captured, documented, all of the above.
100%.
Yeah, so that I
actually
think...
that sorry, carry on.
No, go ahead. I'm done.
No, that the transition there, the segue is that, because your month of April with lots of submissions reminds me of my month of kind of October, which is basically the end of the film festival, when we have hundreds of submissions coming in of films for all these different categories, which I think we announced it in the last gap between podcasts, so I don't think we've spoken about it on the podcast so far.
Oh no, we haven't.
But the film festival is now live, and Emily is actually one of our judges.
Yes.
So sick.
Which thankfully for you, we try and make it as easy as possible for you guys to judge, because I have to spreadsheet everything and really try and make the job as easy as possible, because it's intense, the amount of submissions we get.
Yeah,
and sometimes so cool. the films and things are like 8 minutes long, and you've got 30 of them to go through, and it's like, oh my god. But it's really, really cool, because I mean, we had one, I think the documentary winner of the first year's one was from somewhere like Indonesia, and it was about a sort of a kid who'd found parkour, and he'd been previously homeless and things, and you get to see these stories that other Philippines, that was it. Yeah, and otherwise you just wouldn't see these things, and it's so cool.
Yeah, it's really easy to get wrapped up in your own bubble, because it's such a beautiful bubble, but it just goes so beyond this. It's so powerful, and I think that also too, being on the tour with Corey and Jesse off the edge, you got to meet people face to face and really hear their personal stories and how that touched them, and that's so important. And I think that's something that I would really, Jason and I talk about getting back to, is that we've
and what's so cool is like, sorry, carry on.
No, go ahead.
This is a theme. What's really cool is that there's people that I remember meeting on the Off the Edge tour, and now I see them, like I've met some of them since, and they've become kind of professional in their own right, or they own gyms, or they've become professional cameramen, and like you can see some of these people who were like, oh, maybe it was just a little kind of a 14-year-old kid in a gym sort of getting all excited over Jesse, and now 4 years later is a kind of making a living for himself and living his passion, which is really cool.
Absolutely. Like it blows my mind on so many levels. Like, I have so many weird conversations with people, like 14-year-old boys from India, that you would never, who seems never appropriate, but like I'm having them, and I hope that I'm exposing them to another way of life. I hope I'm sharing with them like another, they ask me these very honest questions. I love relationship questions. I sometimes get asked questions, but for some reason, I think through parkour or through Jason or Farang or whatever, they feel comfortable speaking with me. And it's just, I don't know, like that whole thing, but it brings it back to, like I said, like, you travel around the world, so you meet people and you create these connections, and hopefully you leave an impression. You watch them grow through social media, and hopefully they let you stay at their house when you need a place to stay.
It's the long game of getting free accommodation, basically.
Exactly, it is.
Yeah, amazing. All right, we should jump onto Music Minute in a bit, but I'm not going to let that slip. I want one cheeky bit of gossip from Team Farang that the general public, our listeners, would not know about?
Oh gosh.
Like Anam bleaching Jason's butthole or something like that. Like some weird shit that only you would know about.
Good gossip that only I would know about. This is hard, actually. I feel like I've shot everyone naked except for Valtteri and Pasha.
And me.
And you.
You've never got me. You've but you're
not
tried
part of
many
Team
times.
Farang.
No, I know, but there were many times you were like, Giles, we should do a naked photo shoot. And I'm like, never happening.
Giles, we should do a naked photo shoot. I know, I was trying to get you to do that one in the bathtub. That would have been good.
Yeah.
Bottle, with the 40. You missed
it'll
out.
happen one day.
It'll happen one day.
Fuck. Now I think I'd be up for it. I think I was kind of a fragile young man back then, and now I'm a bit more confident. So,
God, I'm trying to think of. I don't have any. I'm sorry, I don't have. I probably do. I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna remember
all right,
it.
well,
5
no,
minutes after this one.
Transparent, apparently.
Yeah, it's fine. Your forfeit is that you've got to go first on Music Minute.
All right. So wait.
All right.
Should
Okay,
I
wait.
set a timer?
I'll count you in. You got 8 seconds. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Emily Ibarra with Music Minute.
Okay,
Go.
Tracy Chapman. So one of the things we got was a turntable record player, and we bought Tracy Chapman's self-titled album in at the flea market. And so this album came out in 88, but it is so fucking good. Like, she is an American from Cleveland. She grew up with a single mom. She got a ukulele at age 3, and then she was writing her own songs by age 8. And this album came out, and it just fucking blew up. She was playing for like Nelson Mandela's like 70th birthday like concert right after this, and after 30 years it just still holds up, and you have to listen to it in its entirety, because like I remember being a kid and like listening to the song on the radio. I'm like, yeah, fast car, cool, whatever. But the album as a whole is so good. She won 3 Grammys, multi-platinum. She's an activist. She talks about poverty, domestic violence, racism, injustice, and it's just like, we just listened to this album and it was just like, it's so good. Is that under a minute?
Fucking hell, that was good. That was
literally perfect.
That
for
was
a minute
on the dot.
I think that might have been the best music.
That
minute
was the best music
anyone's
minute
ever done.
ever.
I may have practiced
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I'm not surprised. You can see, like, in the mirror this morning, you're like, Tracy Chapman.
Oh, what?
I was going to say, so she's fast car, isn't she?
Yes, yeah. It's like, It's crazy. You weren't born then, and you know about this, you know? And
yeah, well, I know that song, but I don't know anything else. So although I have seen a clip of her maybe playing to an insane crowd, so maybe it's around that time. But yeah, no, I'll check that out. That sounds fucking wicked.
That's so unfair.
Why?
I never plan ever.
Like, even last night, I was like, Keelan, you need to get something ready. And he was like, oh, yeah, I should.
No, I said I'm stressing, and you said, you got so much time. So then it, like, chilled me out, and I just didn't even plan.
Fucked it.
But, you know.
All right, who's next?
It's nothing new.
I'm prepared, so it's whether if...
I think if I go, because you're prepared, so it ends on a prepared one.
Okay, all right.
I again, don't know anything, what I'm going to say, but
right.
let's start it at...
Oh, you had the perfect moment then. You could have gone.
Yeah, but I'm scared.
We always look at the thing on GarageBand and try and do a nice round number.
Yeah.
All right,
and
you got
then
3
I
seconds.
Go completely under
2,
and try and waffle.
1, go.
Okay, so Fontaine's DC for Dublin City. My dad recently went to Glastonbury. Everyone knows Glastonbury. Yeah, and he showed me this band from Dublin they're pretty new. They're like punk rock. Very, very strange. It's very striking because their vocals are very Irish and they're not very good, but in a way it kind of like stands out, and they're all like dressed very kind of like 70s, 80s, like, well, I don't know, when was flares a thing? Do you know what I mean? Like, they're all kind of like vibey, and I don't know, they kind of like don't give a shit, and on stage they're just kind of like screaming, but it's not like metal, it's just
punk.
It looks like they're just having like the best time and really fun, but because the seconds just disappeared.
Don't worry.
Anyway, but they no, their songs don't sound like they're talking about anything very important. It just kind of struck me because they got the whole crowd moving, and I think they've only just released their first album in 2019, and they're playing on a big stage.
You're well over time, but I was letting you go because the emails popped up.
Yeah, but...
What was that? Fontaines DC.
Fontaines DC. They're a fun one to listen to.
Keelan's first heavy suggestion.
Nah, they're not heavy.
Well, they're punk. I mean, normally you suggest like house music, not house music. Like that was I was discrediting your music taste.
Thanks.
Emily, by the way, is I think it was on a journey with myself and Emily where we came up with the 10 suggestion. I can't remember.
Oh, we do that all the time now.
Do you remember when? I think maybe I came up with it. I don't want to claim it, but I think I did. Where I said like we should all put together a playlist of our 10 favorite songs, not favorite like in that moment. And you and me swap phones and we listen to each one. And you have to. We do it all the time with Motus like car journeys now.
Yeah,
that's
you have
awesome.
To sculpt. Yeah, you sculpt from track 1 to 10 like a playlist that has to flow. So it's got to have like an intro, normally a bit of a kind of breakdown in the middle, and then build it back up and end it with a banger kind of thing. And it has to reflect your music taste in its entirety in 10 songs.
But I feel like reflect your music taste.
But in your music
that period,
yeah, your music
it always
taste
changes.
Period, so it can change. Yeah. So you can be like, oh, I'm really into heavy stuff at the moment.
Well, I still have mixtapes. I being a minimalist and everything fitting into.
You fucking hipster.
I have these mixtapes that like my friends made for me in high school, and I'm
wow.
What I want to do is I want to put them on, like I want to make them into Spotify playlists because it's just so cool. Because you literally had to record this tape, plus stop record. And you had to listen to the whole thing, and we lose that now. Listening to a whole
wait,
album.
Keelan, have you ever used a cassette?
Yeah.
Have you actually?
No, like I would have been so young that they would be around the house, and like my brain doesn't understand how they work. Like
Wow.
I do remember when like CDs started.
You had
to come
VCR
in.
though, right?
VHS.
Yeah, VHS. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like I had loads of VHS tapes,
Yeah.
but. No, tapes, like...
It's basically a small version of that.
Tapes were in the car.
Yeah.
But they hadn't, like, changed them to CD players yet, and I didn't know how they worked. And I probably couldn't tell you now, like, how to...
I mean, it's basically a VHS, but...
Yeah, but how do you make a mixtape? What do?
You get a dual recorder, right? And you could bootleg it, where you get a little microphone and you could record off, like, the radio or TV, or you could get, like, a dual recorder where you had two, and you could, like, plug it in and it's hard work, like really hard work
It's
to do.
really hard work. And like you would have people like, I had this guy make one for me and he called it was like all punk music from high school. It's called Chicken Shit for the Soul. And it's just the coolest thing. Like I still have it. Like because you
Did he stand outside your bedroom window with a boombox?
Probably.
I made you a mixtape.
I put it in my backpack, and it's like, hey, something for later. But it was just like you could only give it to one person. Like it's crazy.
It's more physical and more
very
special,
personal,
right?
yeah. All right, I need to get mine out of the way. I'll go in
I completely
3,
forgot.
2, 1. Okay, so my recommendation this week is a new artist that I just found called Sleep Token. They are a band that plays completely anonymously. They all wear kind of masks and like weird robes, and there is a huge amount of speculation that the lead singer is the lead singer of another band, but like a much bigger pop band. And this music is it ranges from like ambient pop stuff with like keyboards and sort of just beats, and then it grows and grows into these fucking just gargantuan like kind of post-rock metal breakdowns of just huge proportions, but it's very much like Arcane Roots. To all the people who appreciated Arcane Roots, like they're definitely worth checking out. But I'm so curious as to who this fucking lead singer is, because like it's so weird, and they have this weird cult following because they talk about like, I don't know, I think it's a bit of an in-joke, but it's really interesting. That was all right. It wasn't great.
No, that was cool. I know exactly. You've shown me before.
It's fucking strange. It's so strange. Like they play in these robes with masks on, and the singer, like I swear, I think he's like the lead singer of Bastille or one of these bands. His vocals are so familiar.
Anyway, that was music a minute and a half.
Shut up! I always go over.
It's because you have interest.
I get excited.
Quite interesting ones though.
That is one of my next goals and like my next 2 decades or whatever is I'm taking drum lessons right now,
Yes, you said. Yeah, because you were like, I can't do the podcast then because I'm doing my drum lesson. I was like, what?
Oh, shit, I have to make another lesson this week. Yeah, no, so, but I want to do something like that, like be in masks or something, you know, do like the Daft Punk, like just wear helmets and change people up. I'm trying to get Anand to, I'm like, Anand, let's do this.
I would love... I've got a guitar sitting right next to me that I've never learned how to play. I'm so obsessed with music and live performance, and I would love to do it, but I'm so bad. Unlike you, because I feel like you're like, cool, I'm going to start doing drum lessons, and you schedule that in, and that becomes part of your routine. Whereas I'm so bad at like scheduling that time and committing to something like that. The idea of just rocking out on a stage is so fucking fun.
So cool. And you know, it's like, you know, I look back at my old photography and I sucked. Like, it was really bad. And, you know, but I enjoyed it. But I enjoyed it, and I learned that if I do anything for probably 10 years, I'm going to be pretty decent. And that's all I'm really shooting for. So I'm like, all I have to do is play this instrument for the next 10 years, and I'll be decent. So, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, committing to something like that's hard. Oh, I would love to. Drums is something that I'd want to. Yeah,
either drums, guitar, or vocals. Like, I'd love to be a front man. I just want to fucking thrash and jump around and scream. It'd be so much fun.
Well, I've been listening to your GarageBand stuff. You know, you're putting in the work.
Oh, what, Keelan's beats that he puts at the start? Yes. Yeah. Always on the fly.
Yeah.
Genius creativity. Oh, anyway. Have you got any final things you would like to say or get off your chest, or any tips for those hustlers out there trying to make a living, or any, I don't know. What? How do you want to end this?
I have two things.
Okay.
One,
I have prepared.
Yeah, my email or my Instagram is always open if anyone has any questions about relationship advice. No, you know, about like doing jobs or you know, negotiating contracts and stuff like that. Like, I might not be the best, but I can definitely get those answers questioned, and I don't think you should have to feel like you do it alone. There's nothing wrong with asking, so I just want to kind of throw it out there.
Amazing.
Don't be afraid. And then to all the people contacting Farang and saying that their country or their area doesn't have a gym, like, I understand you're really bummed, and I understand that all you see are these amazing videos and these amazing gyms and people traveling to all these amazing locations, but the truth is, nobody had a gym when they started.
Go and watch early Pasha videos.
Yes.
They had the shittiest rusty playgrounds, and look at what he has become.
And that's what makes the good athlete. So don't feel sorry for yourself that you don't have a gym. It doesn't matter. Because no one's feeling sorry for you. No one's feeling sorry for you. And it's a blessing, I truly think. And I think that actually goes hand in hand with musicians as well. Like, the best musicians I know came from nothing. You know, like, how many good musicians do you know who were born and raised in LA? Like, not very many. Yeah, and like, sort of, I mean, obviously there are, I guess, sons and daughters of famous rock stars who have gone on to make their own music, but they get their leg up in the industry, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're actually good. Like, yeah.
So amazing. Well, it has been incredible to talk to you as always. We will I guess we'll do a fake goodbye, and then we'll do a proper goodbye off the air. So we'll hit record. We'll hit stop, and then we'll politely say goodbye rather than just cutting you off.
All right.
This is weird. I feel like I've been listening to a podcast while doing a podcast.
Yeah, sorry. I realised.
Because I haven't met you, Emily. Well, no, I think we might have met like briefly or something.
Yeah,
before,
I think we met for Love of Movement one winter or something. Yeah.
But this has just been interesting. So for me, I'm just sitting there like, whoa, okay, this is sick. And then forget like, oh shit, wait, I'm actually here.
I'm allowed to talk.
Yeah. No, but it's been really fun. It's been cool.
Sorry. Oh, I feel like I know you because I listen to the podcast, so.
That's what Giles keeps saying.
That's what podcasts do, is you learn all the vocal like mannerisms of people, which is a huge part of how you like get to know someone. So there's podcasts I listen to and I'm like, you feel like you know the person. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, it is.
It's very strange. Amazing. All right, well, thank you very much. We'll do a fake goodbye now.
Okay, then, fake goodbye.
We'll talk in a second. Fake goodbye. Love you. Bye.
Bye.